Hey guys, so it's time. It is time for Test cricket. And we've been a very long time for Test cricket to kick off. And we're finally getting some Test cricket from on this channel. We've been talking about it for quite some time. We do know that it's a situation where we have a team that has a lot of unknowns that are surrounding it. A lot of people don't know a lot about the squad, about the players. So it's my job over here at Cricket Fanatics magazine to inform you guys about this particular team and what they can do, and some history about the players, a little bit about their performances, about their character, all of those type of things we can discuss on the show. We're going to also look at Neil Brunt's captain's presser to get a quick insight into what he's thinking heading into this match. I did an exclusive interview with Dane Pitt to give you guys an understanding of how he is feeling, but also what the team is feeling heading into this particular match. So we will be doing this show about the New Zealand tour and about the first test match. So that's what today's show is going to be about. I'll maybe touch a little bit on what happened in the SA20 today because there's a massive, obviously, news surrounding who qualifies now for the playoffs. Because I went to Newlands today and I watched MI Cape Town capitulate. So and we saw now what happened with JSK, so I'll touch on that as well. So there is some stuff that we can speak about with regards to that too. But this is the preview for the New Zealand tour, so that's what we're going to be speaking about mainly on today's show. The match will kick off a little bit later, so we're all excited about that and to see what's going to take place with that. But before we get going, before we get started, there's a couple of things I'd like you guys to please do. We are getting closer and closer to that 5,000 subscriber mark, so please subscribe, click that notification bell for all future videos. I'd also like you guys to download the New Zealand issue, the New Zealand Tour edition of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. It is 100% free, straight to your inbox. All the issues are free, straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. So go and get your copy right now. It gives you nice insight into some of the players and what the coaches had to say ahead of this important tour for South African cricket. Then I'd also like you guys to please join our Cricket Fanatics magazine business corner. We have started the business corner to help small businesses and medium enterprises market affordably and effectively to a cricket audience. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a startup, whether you have a business, whether you're trying to sell products and you are trying to market to a cricket audience, there's only one viable option, and that is Cricket Fanatics Mag. So go ahead and join the link and read our page and get some free information from us on how you can market to your business in this modern day era that we are living in. So go ahead and check that link out. It's in the description as well as on the screen right now. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. I'm looking forward to discussing this one. Been excited about this for quite some time. So let's see what we will come up with. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid Mohideen, and this is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with the first test between South Africa and New Zealand. It kicks off at midnight South African Standard Time, so we're going to be up all night covering this particular game and keeping an eye on it, and then we'll do a review show directly after the day's play. So please put on your notifications so that you can get a notification on when we go live, a message when we go live for that review of the first day. So what are we looking for? What are we hoping for as a fan base when it comes to this particular test series? For me personally, it is a series where we get to see some unknown players, players that have been knocking on the door on South African cricket for quite some time, and have now been given an opportunity to play and perform and show what they are capable of. So this is a very important series, I think, for us as fans at Cricket Fanatics, man, because a lot of these players we've interviewed, I don't think there's many on that are playing or in the squad that we haven't spoken to and tracked their careers for quite some time. So it's exciting to see some of these players now make it and get an opportunity. I know some people might say that they didn't necessarily earn it because they're only playing because the first 11 isn't available because of the SA20 scheduling clash. But I still believe that they've been toiling away for quite some time and knocking on the door. Some of these players have been on the fringes of a Proteas squad for quite some time, you could say, and some of them have been on the brink of making their SAA debuts and playing for SAA as well. So there has been talk around quite a few of them, and I'm excited to see how they handle this challenge. I did a couple of interviews leading up, or I did an interview leading up, a couple of interviews leading up to this particular test match. With one is with David Bedingham to get an understanding of how he's feeling heading into the series, as well as Dane Pitt. Both of those exclusive interviews are on this channel, so go ahead and check that out. But I think I'm going to start off this show first and foremost with a word from the captain. We haven't been given an opportunity as media in South Africa to speak to the captains in the press conference. So this is going to be questions that come from the New Zealand media. We haven't been given an opportunity to be able to chat to them for some reason. I don't know what the reason is, but we're going to get some insights from Neil Brandt ahead of this match and see what he has to say. So let's start over there. I think that's probably the best place to start. And then we can take it from there with our analysis heading into the rest of this particular preview. So let's get straight into that.
Position I suppose you probably wouldn't have expected to be in a year ago, 6 months ago.
Yes, yeah, it's obviously a bit of a surprise to be named captain for the series. Great responsibility and a great opportunity for all the guys here to stake a claim for the test side.
Yeah, how do you view this opportunity for you and the players?
Massive opportunity, representing your country is something that every young cricketer wants to do, and yeah, to do it here is amazing country, and just loving our time in New Zealand.
He's right there. It is a massive opportunity for these players because, like I said, they should see it as an opportunity to maybe knock down the door further for a place in the Test 11, for the main Test 11. This is going to hold a lot of weight, I feel, for players, seeing that they are in a situation where all the cards are stacked against them. They're playing against a very strong New Zealand team. And I think this is something that they need to discuss. They need to think about where they want to go forward with their career with regards to playing for South Africa. And I think this is the first step for them to take it forward, to take their cricket forward, to take their careers forward, to take the next step in the dream of playing for South Africa. So this is a massive step. It's not just a series that we are going to brush over. I've seen a lot of fans kind of on social media kind of talk the series down like it's not important. It's test cricket. It's important. I don't think these players are going to go into this particular tour with the mindset of, this is we are weekend side. We are going to just take it easy against this New Zealand side. No, I think they all have the mentality of wanting to try their best against this unit, and it's an extremely good test. The an extremely important test for all of these players. I labeled the cover of the magazine for this month the ultimate test because it will be for all of these players. It will be. Some of them have never played test cricket before, like the captain Neil Brandt, Reina Fontonda, and it's extremely important because we get to see the levels of our cricket. We can now see what these the domestic players, how good our domestic scene is, and how well it prepares our players to be able to take on a challenge like this. There's no bigger test that you can get they're actually lucky to be afforded an opportunity to be able to play against such a massive nation in such a big series. So it is very important, I think, for South Africa, because we can get to see what our next generation can do, what some of the fringe players can do, particularly with the batters. Now, Coach Shukri has picked a more senior bowling team to give some stability to the side and to the squad. I urge you guys to watch the Dane Pitt interview because he gives amazing insight into the strategy and the thought process of the coach. And he actually answers some of my theories that I had and questions I had very well. So go and watch that as well to give you some extra insight.
In terms of the situation around this series, have you talked much to the players about the psychological aspect of how you want them to approach it?
Yeah, the message has been pretty simple. We just want everyone to be the best version of themselves. That's kind of been the message from Shooks and myself. We just want to express ourselves, and we know the situation of the series with the SA20 going on, and we've kind of just embraced that, I guess, and we just want to be the best that we can out there.
It's all they can do.
Obviously going to be high on the home side. Is that an opportunity possibly for you to put pressure on them at various times during the test, do you think?
I'm not sure how much they'll be thinking about that, to be honest. The New Zealand are very good in their home conditions. They have a very experienced team, strong batting order, and a very good bowling attack. So we'd have to be at our best to compete with them. But yeah, we've had 2 good weeks of preparation. So yeah, we feel as ready as we can be.
We've heard that word a lot, preparation, throughout the press conferences that we've had. Coach Shukri Conrad spoke about it, and we've heard now Neil Brand speak about it. Dane Pitt spoke about it. Dane Patterson. So we've got all this information about the preparation. Now we want to see whether this preparation has helped them at all. What I want to see from these players is a fight. I don't want to see them rolling over or not giving 100%. We want to see them give their all in this particular series. That's the main factor that we want from as a fan base. So it's going to be interesting to see whether it's going to be worth it to stay up every single night to watch these games. I'm going to do it for you guys. So we will be able to give you a full review after the day's play of each day so that we can get a better understanding of what is actually going on there. A lot of people like I see Blitz in the comment section saying it's important that I can't watch it because it's school. So unfortunately, a lot of you guys are going to miss the series. So that's where we come in, and we're going to give you guys a review. Whether you watch it live on your way to school or at school while you're waiting to start class, or whether you watch it later when you come home, or if you watch it later, it will be enough time throughout the day to watch this review show. So I have to give it straight after the day's play because it's fresh in my mind and I can really speak with passion about it. Otherwise, when I leave it for a prolonged period of time, kind of gets stale. So I have to kind of act on it immediately. That's why I'm going live directly after the day's play.
New Zealand cricket fans obviously don't know much about you and the team. Do you think they'll be surprised by what they see?
I hope so. Hopefully in a good way. Yes, there's some very good players in that dressing room. I'm pretty sure a few of the guys will still be in the side in a few months' time. And yes, there's some good, exciting talent. Guys like David Bedingham, who's made his debut against India, is playing beautifully. And then a few other guys, will be coming through. And I'm sure the New Zealand public and the public back home in South Africa will be pleasantly surprised by them, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping, because I've seen these players. I've seen them play domestic cricket. I've seen them for quite some time in different types of formats. I mean, just to give you guys an indication again about the squad. Edward Moore, we've got David Bedingham, you've got Clyde Fortuin, you've got Zubair Hamza, you've got Keegan Peterson, Reynard van Tonde, Kyle Zondo, Neil Brandt, Ruanda Swart, Mhlali Mapungwana, Dane Pitt, Sean van Berg, Sipho Moreki, Dwan Olivier, Dane Patterson. I'm more excited about seeing the batters, particularly the newer guys. 2 players that I'm very excited about, and I hope that they get the opportunities: Ruanda Swart and Mhlali Mapungwana. Very exciting all-rounders that we've been tracking for a while. Ruanda Swart, excellent player. A lot of people might not know a lot about him when it comes to his backstory. But if you don't know, he played for SA schools rugby as well as in cricket. So he represented South Africa basically at the age group level in both. And he had a choice to make between cricket and rugby, and he chose cricket. Very exciting all rounder, pace bowler and batter. Bats like five, can bat 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. I would say maybe 5, 6, 7 rather, to be safe. And we got Mihlane Mapungwana, who's an exciting young all rounder that has showed his prowess with the bat and ball for Western Province. But a player that I'm really excited about as well is Reiner van Donde. He's a young player that has shown his character. He's shown his mental toughness in many occasions. There's a good story that he told us on the On Lockdown series on this channel, where he spoke about the Under 19 World Cup in 2018, which was in New Zealand. So he's going to obviously take some of that New Zealand experience from playing at those grounds, especially this ground. They've played 2 games. His team played 2 games at the grounds, and he actually failed at those grounds with regards to scoring runs. So he might be able to have taken some learnings from that round and maybe bring that into his game if he gets a start. We don't know what the team is going to be right now as it stands, because Coach Shukri said they want to first see the conditions and assess the conditions before they make that decision. But Reiner van Tonder, and I think a lot of this team makeup has been built around resilience and mental strength and players that have overcome hurdles in their career, tough things in different ways. Some maybe personal, and some maybe in cricket itself. And all of these players have faced that. If you can go to the likes of Dane Pitt, to the likes of Dane Patterson, who's been in and out of the Proteas side, not never ever cementing his spot fully, and now getting another opportunity to show his skills. You can go to a guy like David Bedingham, who was in a car accident back in 2015, 2016, I think it was, and overcoming that almost career-ending car accident that almost put him out of cricket forever, and he came back better than he's ever been. And he told us that story as well on the channel. And then you can go to a guy like Reiner van Tondo, who broke his hand leading up to the 2018 World Cup as a captain. Doctor said that he shouldn't play. If he plays, he's not going to be able to use his finger again. He said it's worth it. And he went out there and he did quite well as an individual on that particular, uh, in that particular tournament. So resilience is a thing that's in this team, and strong mental strength. You can go to a guy like Zubair Hamza, who recently went through a ban. You never know, 2-year ban, you never know how you're going to come back and jump back or react to that. And he's reacted beautifully with his performances at the Lions and as well as SAA. So resilience and hardships and overcoming those adversities is something that is quite equal within the squad. And I think that will play a huge, hopefully, that will play a huge part in their approach and their ability to take on this task and this challenge in New Zealand.
On the balance of your side, given what you expect from that wicket?
We haven't seen much of the wicket with the rain around, but yesterday it looked pretty green. So we'll have to have a look and see in the morning. But yeah, we're pretty set on our team, but obviously we'll find that out at the toss.
Yeah, so it was a bit concerning that there was a bit of rain around. But I looked at the weather report at the Bay Oval, and it seems like it's going to be clear for all 5 days. So no worries with regards to weather, I think, going into this particular test match, according to the weather report that I checked. So I think we'll be okay. But you never know with weather. As we living in Cape Town, you can. That's clear to see. If you live in South Africa, in different parts of the country, you'll see that sudden weather changes can happen, even though the forecast doesn't predict it. So we don't know what's going to happen until the game starts. But ultimately, they haven't really gotten to see the wicket quite yet as they wanted to at this particular stage. This was yesterday. So we'll know. They'll know now, leading up to the match, to the start of the match, what they're going to be doing and what team they're going to be selecting. They'll probably be waking up around about now, most likely. I think, let me just double check that. What the time is there in New Zealand right now currently, but we know we get a 12 kickoff or start. Yeah, they'll be waking. It's about 8:39 there in New Zealand currently. So yeah, they'll be getting probably an assessment, but going down to the ground soon and going to, or probably maybe arrived at the ground already to assess the conditions, to see what they're going to be doing with regards to that team. So exciting times here, exciting times.
Hello, Tashi. here from News Hub. New Zealand has never beaten South Africa in a Test series.
Yeah.
Is that a record that you're hoping to keep?
Yeah, there's a new shield as well now, so it's definitely a record we're desperate to keep. I definitely want to fly back on the plane knowing that we've done something special here. So lots of pride in the dressing room, as I've said earlier, and we just want to do the best that we can, and hopefully we can achieve that.
You just talked about how the Kiwi fans here don't really know much about you guys. Does that give you, I guess, extra motivation?
Definitely, yes. I think it kind of helps us in a way with our preparation, I guess, that they don't know much about us. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of South Africans I've heard in the area, so hopefully there'll be a few South Africans in the crowd supporting us tomorrow, and yeah, hopefully we'll surprise the people of New Zealand. The media has obviously said what they had to say about the series with the SA20 going on, and I fully understand that. You want to be playing the best team, and Test cricket is the pinnacle of the game. So I do understand the New Zealand media and the South African media at that, and hopefully that we can just do the best that we can, as I've said a few times, and hopefully surprise a few people.
Do you think it will be harder for New Zealand to come out and win because they have that sort of pressure and expectation? Where for you guys, you can just go out and give it a hit, I guess.
Yeah, we still wanna do the best that we can. Every time we put the Proteas jersey on, it comes with a certain amount of pressure, and we're desperate to try and do something. And New Zealand, from what I've heard, they're not very arrogant people. So I'm pretty sure that they'll have their heads on properly for this Test match. As I've also seen in the media, Kane has said that they won't be taking us lightly, and I don't think they would be. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tough series for us, and we're going to have to do extremely well to compete with them.
Very true. They're going to have to do very, very well to compete against this New Zealand team. And the job of that we have here at Cricket Fanatics Magazine is to give you guys insight into these players. So I do have a guest that's going to be joining me on this preview. Someone that hasn't been on the channel for quite some time. Missed him here. He's been very busy doing the things in the cricket space. Welcome back to the show, Werner. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, on you, Khalid?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's quite busy with this SA20, a game a day, so sometimes two. So trying to track everything and get through all the cricket that's happening at the moment. So sifting through. How are you doing with regards to the space that you're in currently?
Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Also very busy with a lot of cricket stuff and regular work, and so it's been quite hectic, but it's a bit less hectic right now. So it's good to hop on here.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to get your insights because I've been speaking about this. Both of us are, I would say, are people or or fans that have tracked a lot of these players' careers for quite some time now. I mean, especially the newer guys that are in the side, like Reina, Turuan, Mikhlali. So let's get some insight from you and how you're feeling ahead of this series. Because to me personally, I've said it on this channel plenty of times that this is an important series for me as a fan. I know a lot of people are trying to write it off. We heard that Neil Brunt speak about that, about the media writing bad things about this tour, about sending a second string or third string team to New Zealand, etc. But I think going from where we thought we were initially, because when it was announced that the SA20 players wouldn't be available, I automatically went, oh, we're probably going to send a third string team or, fourth string team over here because half of the players are all there. But I kind of forgot that maybe some of the players that have played for the Proteas already, that have experience there already, would be available because they wouldn't get picked up in the SA20. So I don't think it goes to a third string necessarily because, I mean, looking at Zubair Hamza, we're looking at Keegan Peterson, Duan Olivier has played already before, Dane Patterson, Dane Pitt, those are experienced guys. Kai Zonder's played a couple of games in the test side. And then we've got a couple of newbies. And then obviously David Bedingham is part of the first 11 that played against India. So it quickly goes from us what we thought would be a second string. I'm not saying necessarily that Dane Pitt is going to play for the first team again or Dane Patterson, etc. But that experience that they bring to the game will obviously up that intensity within the side and bring some consistency. But how are you feeling as a fan heading into this test series?
Yeah, I'm happy to see Test cricket back again. I'm in between too about how I feel about the team. I think the batting lineup looks pretty good, and we can compete with some of those batters that have good experience. I'm looking forward to see how Reinhard van Tonder will go. I think he has all the talents in the world. The question is, can he translate it to this level? I'm happy Eddie Moore got the call up, and I look forward to seeing how Neil Brunt goes as captain. He's done well for the Titans in that position, and he speaks well, and I'm sure he'll do a good job. I'm more concerned about the bowlers than I am about the batters, in all honesty. I think if I were New Zealand, I'd probably make pretty flat decks, and their bowlers would adapt to those type of conditions and still be able to pick up wickets, while our bowlers might struggle a bit more. I think Dane Patterson will be very suited to the New Zealand conditions, but I'm concerned about bowlers like Duan Olivier, who I don't think he is the bowler he was before. He does have the experience, but he's dropped a lot in pace, and I don't think he quite has the consistency to back that up necessarily. But I'm hoping he proves me wrong. Jeppe Moreke is still he's good. He's improved a lot over the last couple of seasons. He's picked up pace as well, but he doesn't yet quite have that consistency either. I think a lot is going to come down to Dane Pete and Dane Patterson, both of them. I think we're lacking a bit in our wicket taking ability in general. So I'm not sure how we are going to go about taking 20 wickets. But I'm hoping they prove me wrong and that they really step up. But I am quite excited about the batting lineup. We have a genuine test type of batting lineup, not guys who are T20 players who come into this on the back of T20s and feel that they need to play at every ball. This is a genuine knuckle down type of batting lineup where we can see guys spending a lot of time at the crease if they get themselves in. And I think that's something that we lack sometimes as a test team. And I think this is the type of lineup that could potentially bat the bowlers tired, old traditional type of test cricket.
Mm. You see, the reason I feel a little bit more calm about the bowlers is because, generally speaking, if you think about bowlers that are experienced, their ability to be able to understand their own game and adapt accordingly to situations is a lot obviously more better than maybe a youngster, like for example a Janssen or a Gerald. If they miss their lines and links, struggling to come back into a good line and length, etc. I agree with you with regards to the wicket taking abilities. Dane Patterson plays for Province, where there are quite a few wicket takers in that team. Nandre Berger and Bjorn Hendricks and himself, they kind of always exploit the new ball and the movement. If there's movement on offer, he can be quite dangerous. I agree with you on Duan Olivier. The pace is a problem. When I interviewed him back, when he came back to South Africa again from England, he spoke about this ability to swing the ball that he learned in England, and he tried to change his way of bowling, that he can now swing the ball, and he's learned the skill. I've yet to see it, obviously, for the domestic teams that he's played for, but I mean, not all the wickets that we play in South Africa is going to offer you those conditions. Probably, maybe the Warriors in Durban a little bit, you'll get some swing. Probably in East London or in PE, you'll get a little bit of swing, and in Newlands, but not so much, generally speaking, in the Highveld where he plays his cricket. But do you think that maybe this New Zealand wickets would suit Duan Olivier? If will we be able to see the Duan Olivier that you see in county cricket?
I hope not. He didn't do too well in county cricket. I'd I'd prefer to see the old Duan, but we do know he's dropped quite a bit in pace, so he won't be as effective if he just tries a bunch of short deliveries as he used to do. But he has picked up more consistency, at least. I'm saying he's not the most consistent. He's not like a Vernon Philander who would get away with bowling 125 to 128, bowling the same spot the whole day long, seaming it both ways. He doesn't quite have that. And his swing isn't late, so his swing is more out of the hand. And I'd prefer him trying to hit the deck fairly hard rather hit that type of. I guess it depends on the pitch as well. We're playing on a pitch that hasn't been seen a lot of Test cricket, so we don't know for sure how it's going to play. And I know green wickets in New Zealand don't tend to mean that much because they're fairly hard underneath, and so they might look green but not necessarily offer that much to the bowler. So it'll be interesting to see how the pitch plays, and the bowlers need to adapt, and that includes includes Duan as well if he plays.
Mm.
Obviously, he has the most test experience from our bowling lineup. I mean, Dane Patterson's played a bit, and Dane Pete's played a bit, but I think Duan has played a couple of more test matches than they have. So I'm sure Shukri will go to him, but it'll be interesting to see how he leads the attack then. But I feel that Dane Patterson is probably the most threatening pace bowler we have, not in terms of pace, but just in terms of the control he brings and the movement he can get through the air and off the pitch.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Yeah, Duan, I mean, he had quite an inconsistent time, I guess, in England. Starting off pretty well and then ending off pretty badly, and then coming back to South Africa and trying to find his way. I'm a bit worried about the pace. I've always been, and it's quite shocking how quickly he fell off that pace, because it was quite a quick change to what we knew when he left, when he was playing for South Africa, and then he left. I mean, so it's been a drop off. I mean, I asked him about it. He didn't really answer the question properly. He did say that he has to bowl differently in England. Because they have to, it's different conditions, he had to obviously change the way he has to bowl. But I doubt you have to change your pace to do so. You just have to maybe
Yeah.
change your skill a bit. So yeah, the bowling department from that perspective, I'm hoping that the experience that these guys have will come into play with regards to just keeping, if they find a good length, a line in length, that they keep it, because I think that will probably be the best way to try and test New Zealand, is by just putting the ball on the same spot and just testing a batter over and over and over again. But obviously New Zealand are going to be quite comfortable in that conditions. Let's get into some of the other players. There are some new guys in the team. Like we already spoke about Reinhard van Tonde. Let's get into a little bit more about about Neil Brandt. We recently did do an article on Neil Brandt's thoughts on captaincy. We heard him speak now a little bit here. You would have seen him play a lot more, having played for the Titans and captained the side. What are your thoughts on the captain Neil Brandt, and what does he bring from your perspective? What do you think he will bring to the side of with regards to bat? I know he can offer a little bit of spin, so maybe if we do need him, it does help a lot to have a spinner that will bat at the top of the order.
Yeah, so he's been quite consistent for the Titans. I think the main concern is probably his conversion rate. I think he has something like 500s compared to his
500s.
20 half centuries, and so that's a slight bit of a concern. You generally, if you get to 50, you need to try and buckle in and get a century, and so that's something he'll want to work on. But he did make a century for the SAA side against West Indies A, and he batted quite well. He does like to be quite free flowing once he gets going. He tends to take a while to get himself in, but he loves those drives through the covers, and he's quite strong off the legs as well. And yeah, he's quite useful with the ball. I think Shukri will rely quite a bit on him. It is New Zealand, so I don't see us playing two frontline spinners. I can't see Dane Piet and Sean van Berg play in the same 11. I think we might play Dane Piet in both matches just for that experience he brings and the control he brings. And then you can see him and Neil Brandt both bowling. But I doubt that we will see Sean van Berg play. Unlucky for him if that is the case, because obviously there was a previous tour as well where he went along and didn't play. So, but we'll see. Maybe Shukri's thinking is different than mine, and they do go for Sean. But I doubt it. But in terms of Brandt, I think he brings quite solidity at the top of the order. He just needs to make sure he doesn't go for those expansive drives too early on. I know he'll be tested by that New Zealand bowling attack, who are really good, and it'll be interesting to see how we approach it.
Yeah.
Because I
Is it-
talk now about us maybe being a more traditional test bowling, test batting lineup for this series, but I know Shukri wants the players to play more attacking. And Eddie Moore, for example, had a good season with Western Province, where he played in that way, where they wanted the Western Province batters to bat freely under the guidance of Kyle Verreynne, and where Eddie Moore played a lot more attacking cricket than he used to play in the past, and that's sort of brought out the best in him. To be honest, he looked very good this season. I think he made 2 centuries, quite free flowing. And so it'll be interesting to see how we do approach it. I think Reina van Toner in general is actually a better batter when he looks to be positive, almost similar to Rossi. How I feel like Rossi can get into his shell sometimes and not really get anywhere, and then eventually gets out without really getting the scoreboard ticking. And I think that Reynard is similar. He looks so good when he looks to be positive, and he did that in the warm up match. And I'm hoping that he has that same type of approach.
I saw him do that at Newlands as well. For the 100 that he scored, he was batting a lot more positive. I always knew him as a guy that grinded it out. Batted for long hours at the crease and then gets that 100 back in the past. When he had his two big seasons for the Knights. So it is good to see that we have also David Bedingham, someone that's playing a lot more naturally attacking type of mindset as well. So I'm excited to see these new guys. Team makeup, because I want to ask you about that, because we've got two all-rounders in the team. Both are pretty decent batters as well. Normally we go for these bowlers that can bat a bit, but both of these players have shown in the past that they can score hundreds. They can really bat as well, not just bowl. I think Michlali is probably caught the eye because of his batting more than his bowling, and same with, I feel, Ruanda Swat as well. I've always seen him as a batter first before bowler, even though he does bowl quite good pace. So do you see us playing seven batters, for example? Because I think the introduction of Clyde Fortuin as the wicketkeeper batter almost guarantees that he will start. So that kind of means that those other star guys that we know in domestic cricket, star cricketers from the domestic scene, to fit them all in, you kind of have to play with seven batters. So what is your thought process going into that? Do you think that we could possibly play seven batters in this series? Is that the direction you think that Shukri will go?
Yeah, it's quite hard to say. I think we might lean towards playing an all-rounder in that top seven to try and give us an extra bowling option, because, as I
Mm.
said, I think the bowling is the weakest suit going into this series, and just playing the four bowlers might be a bit tricky. But then again, who do you leave out from a batting perspective? You might see Reina van Tonder not even playing. You might see
Yeah,
Zubair Hamza coming in at 3, and then Keegan Peterson, David Bedingham, Ruan de Swart, Clyde Voltaine, and then you could have your bowlers in Olivier, Patterson, Pete, and yeah. So I'm actually not too sure which way we are leaning right now. It'll be
yeah,
interesting to see in a couple of hours from now where Shukri's thinking process is. He does like to be quite attacking, so it, yeah, I'm honestly not too sure.
yeah. And I'm sitting exactly with the same dilemma. That's why I thought I'll ask you as well, so maybe get some insight, because I was trying to put an 11 together, and every single time I was leaving someone that I think is important out of the team. So it's going to be interesting to see how we line up. It's going to tell us a lot about our domestic system as well. Preparing, I've seen what I have said on the show already is that the one consistency that I've seen in this particular squad that was picked is that all of these players have gone through quite difficult adversities in their life, so either personally or in cricket itself, where they've had to overcome the hurdles to continue living their dream of playing the sport. You can go right through the lineup from Eddie Moore, who I know for a fact by speaking to him and interviewing him and having conversation with him, how let down he was when he wasn't getting picked in SAA teams, even when he was having top scoring seasons for the Warriors. I know that Reinhard van Tonder, he's always shown resilience. Even that story about the 2018 World Cup, where he broke his finger and he wasn't allowed to. The doctor said if he plays with it, he might not be able to use it again. And he went anyway and said it was worth it and played the entire tournament. We've seen the likes of Zubair Hamza going through a ban. We've seen Keegan Peterson getting a lot of criticism. They had a good series against India, and then up and down, COVID and injuries and a whole lot of difficulties, plus his past. I mean, coming from where he comes from, try and making a career out of cricket, leaving the safe haven of being at home to go play in Bloem. leaving his home and doing all of those type of things. Uh, we can continue going with a lot of players and that have this in their mentality. And Shukri was caught saying in the not caught, but he was asked a question in the press conference, and he answered it about resilience. And he spoke particularly about Reinhard van Tonder, but I think when I spoke to Dane, he actually confirmed that. He said, yes, that's something that he feels that he is in this dressing room, is resilience and a strong mentality from because of the adversities that these players have faced.
Yeah, I'm genuinely actually quite excited about this series. I know New Zealand is a much stronger side than we are for this series, but all of these guys have a point to prove. Some of them know maybe that this is their only chance, and they probably won't play for the Proteas again. Somebody like a Dane Pete is here for this series, and then he will be going back to America. Somebody like a Dane Patterson probably knows that it's unlikely that he will be picked again. There's a couple of those, but then there's guys who we've generally talked about that can make the Proteas. It's just not quite hit that level yet. Haven't been received that call up, or they have, but have been in the squad and then been left out. Somebody like a Reinhard van Tonder, who we all believe is good enough to make it there. He has a very good technique, probably one of the best techniques we have in the domestic system. It's more a mental thing than anything else. So I'm very excited to see what they can do. Most of these players have played quite a long time in domestic cricket. Have fully deserve to be there and show what they can do, and I'm sure they're very excited to represent our country, and they want to do their best. And I feel like it's all of them will feel it's a big honor and something that they'll fight for tooth and nail.
Okay, guys, so that's the preview part of the show done. We've discussed basically everything. I don't know, Van, if you want to speak about some of this SA20 stuff that happened today. If you just want to, or you want to, I don't know what your obligations are, your commitments are with regards to speaking about it.
No obligations. My team is out.
Okay.
The Pretoria Capitals won today, but it wasn't enough as the Joburg Super Kings went and chased down a big score against the Durban Super Giants, who dropped a
Yeah.
few catches and made it a bit easy for them. But the Joburg Super Kings played very well, batted
Yeah.
very well to chase that down. Les Deploy, Faf du Plessis, and Donovan Ferreira coming in and hitting two sixes at the end as he does. So they're going into the playoff spots next week.
Mm.
The eliminator will be between the Joburg Super Kings and the Paul Royals, and then the Sunrisers will Eastern Cape will be playing the Durban Super
PSG,
Giants in the qualifier. And so it should be good games. Joburg Super Kings sneaking in there with 3 wins. It feels like we need a bit of a change of format. I think four teams making a 16 tournament into the qualifier, into the playoffs, just doesn't sit quite right with me. I think we might have to have a relook. If you win 3 games and there's a couple of rain out and you make the playoffs, you've not been playing good cricket, but you're still there. It just doesn't quite feel right. And regardless of who of those 3 teams in the end made it, I don't think it's quite the best. The top 3 teams have been playing good cricket and they've been winning games. Then that 4th spot is like sneaking in there. And now because we have set venues for the playoff spots, Joburg Super Kings end up playing at home now for their eliminator. And if they win there, they play the second qualifier at Joburg again. And so they're playing in front of their home crowd, despite them having a quite poor tournament for most part. But kudos to them for making sure that they win this last match that they needed to. Faf du Plessis standing up in a crunch game as he generally does.
And we've had some good South African performance all around today. Or John Smart scoring a 50, Vian Mulder scoring a 50. A lot of people were on Vian's case, saying that he shouldn't be playing T20 cricket at the beginning of this tournament. Some people saying that he's not the player that we all thought he was going to be. And yet, towards the end of this tournament, the business end, he's been performing quite well with a bat. 100 class and doing 100 class and things, 40 of 16 again. He's been in phenomenal form and he's going to be very, very, very important when it comes to South Africa's T20 World Cup spots. I've been disappointed with my Cape Town, and there's a lot of players that haven't come to the party at all in that team. And again today, I felt like they threw the match kind of away. They were in a good position, and then experienced guys not stepping up and doing what we want them to do. Like a Sam Curran, I feel in the second last over. I know it's difficult to defend the total, etc. But I think that particularly that game against JSK in a rain affected fixture, it was terrible bowling from our guys like KG and people that you expect to lean on in crunch situations. So, but overall, I'm being quite impressed with some of the talent on display. Uh, Interesting to see someone like Thomas Carver come through and actually do quite well. Jordan Herman doing the things continuing where he left off last season. Ryan Rickelton putting up his hand for potentially making a T20 World Cup squad. Um, Quite a few players really performing well from a South African standpoint. Uh,
Yeah.
which players would you say so far in this particular part of the tournament? Seeing that we are into the knockout phases now, which players have you been most impressed with? I mean, Calvarena, I mean, great pickup there, Werner, because
Yeah.
a lot of people wouldn't have said that he's the type of guy that would uh, be a T20 type of player. There was a lot of talk about, oh no, you can only do it in the high felt where the ball was swinging, but he did it to Dad Newlands too, when the ball can be flying, sorry, and he did it to Dad Newlands too a little bit. So, what's your thoughts on some of the players that really impressed you?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with the guys who don't have like Protea contracts, the guys who are maybe on the fringes or not even on the fringes performing well. You've touched on Thomas Carver, um, Ryan Rickelton, of course, but I've been very impressed with Matthew Breetzke. I've also been impressed with Mitchell van Buren, who's done very well. I was surprised last season when the Paul Royals didn't really use him much and played Dane Villas ahead of him the whole time. I was asking, why aren't they playing Mitchell van Buren? Because he's got some good talent, and I'm glad they've given him that main role there in the middle order with David Miller, and he's really taken it, and he's helped them win a few matches, and that's why part of the reason why they are in the playoff matches. Yeah, there's been quite a few. I'm happy for Carvarena. I was punting him to bat at number 3 from quite early in the season, but it took a bit before he came into the series. But he really stepped up and performed well. Probably the best batter of the team for the tournament in what was a pretty a big struggle for most part. And so I'm very happy for Kyle. He did very well, and it was
Mm.
amazing century the other night in a losing cause, unfortunately. But to get 100 in that position after the team was, I think, 43 for 6 or something, and then striking a century from that position just shows what he's capable of. And
Mm.
also good in terms of if you're looking at this test series, that he's not one of those guys who are like, oh, but he never played. Why isn't he in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Type of thing. So he did play and he did well. So there's a reason why
Good.
he's not in New Zealand. Same now for Tony De Zorzi. Didn't do well, but there's a reason why he's not in New Zealand. Uh, can't say the same about Bavuma, but this is the situation we are in where SA20 contracts take preference, and the hope is that going forward we won't have these clashes. Technically, I know in the future tour program it looks like we might still have clashes with a West Indies 5-match T20 series, then also a year after that the England series. So I'm hoping that by now that Cricket South Africa have sorted that out and they don't come to that time and say, no, we tried our best, but there's nothing you can do type of thing. They
Mhm.
need to make sure now that there's no clashes anymore, that we don't have to bring this subject up again.
hmm Just a couple of comments. Lorenzo saying, unpopular opinion, both Munsami and Totoli deserves to be in the squad instead of Antonda and Fortain based on current form. I don't think this is on current form that they went with 100%. I think Coach Shukri went with guys that have performed over the last 3, 4, 5 years in domestic cricket, and that's the way he's gone with this particular test series. I think in tests we should be doing that. I don't think this is T20 cricket where you can pick on current form and then hope that the guy will, and then give them an opportunity in the national side. I think you have to earn your spot to have an opportunity in Test cricket. And I think that the players that I have played have done the hard yards in domestic cricket to get there. I'm not going to slate these two players because I think that both of them have done exceptionally well. Maybe over Munsami this season, Titoli over the last couple of seasons. I think last season and this season. So there is a lot of talent there, and their time will come. What's your thoughts on that, Werner?
Yeah, I think Munsami is a bit unlucky not to make it. To be honest, Clyde had one good season last season. He hasn't been in the best form this season. Before last season, he didn't do anything that was stand out. He's a great keeper, and don't get me wrong, he's a very good gloveman. I think he'll do a wonderful job behind the stumps. But you would want him to contribute with the bat as well. And I'm hoping he will. He's done well in some of the other formats, but not necessarily in 4-day cricket. And Munsami last season was in Division 2, top scored there, um, and then was called up again by the Titans, and now he's top scored this season again, and now in Division 1. So I think he's been in very good form. It's a bit unlucky between him and Hashile. Either one of them could have also gone as a wicketkeeper batter to New Zealand. But I'm hoping that Clyde takes his opportunity with both hands. Tole, he's been good this season. He's been very good. Last season he was okay. This season he's been in very good form. I'm not sure if it's a like for Reynard necessarily, but yeah, I think Reynard has earned his spot to go on the tour. He had seasons of very good performances. Then he had one season last season, I think, where he dipped a bit. But he's looked again. He's looked good again this season. He looked good at the SAA side without a big score. But I'm fairly happy with the squad they selected in the end based on what we had available.
Yeah, based on what we had available, true. I think maybe some people might say, because I mean, Clyde was a little bit of a surprise because the one season that stood out was last season. This season not doing too well. He hasn't necessarily showed his top form with regards to SAA as well, but Coach Shukri is backing him for the series. Look at other keepers around the country. A lot of them have been picked up, even the backup guys. I mean, we're seeing even like a guy like Matthew Britsky that kept today. I mean, he doesn't keep for the Warriors, but I mean, he does. He has kept in the past, very long time ago. He's kept wicket. Calvarena got picked up. Majority of the keepers have been picked up. I mean, maybe Sinitembe Klashile. People have spoken about him as well. Not shown the consistency as we know. That we know he has, and his glove work, I think, still needs a little bit of work as well. So when it comes to that, there is a little bit of a question mark surrounding Clyde. So let's see how he performs in the series. I'm a big believer of trusting Coach Shukri when it comes to certain players, because he's tended to be pretty right with certain players in the past, throughout his career. So I mean, I'm a fan of Rivaldo Munsami. He's someone that I like a lot, and I think that he's a great player. I just feel that he maybe needs one or two more seasons before we can, get a chance to play maybe SAA cricket first. I think as well. Getting selected in the SAA side would be good for him. So I would like to see one more season maybe from him before we start, talking. I like to see a player play three seasons, 2 to 3 seasons domestic cricket first before I start thinking about them in. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jordan Herman, but I haven't spoken to him about Proteas yet, because I've said, like, I want to see him, bring that consistency. We saw with Reiner van Tonde, his first 2 seasons, brilliant. Third season, not so good. Fourth season, starting to come back into it again. And then obviously the season he's starting to come back into his old form again for Northwest now. So you need to give these players some time to prove their worth in domestic cricket over a couple of years, I feel, before you earn that spot to play for South Africa.
Yeah, I think it's different with batters than it is with bowlers. With bowlers, you can maybe get them in early if they have some express pace. They swing the ball around. While they're still young, you can get them in. We did that with Rabada. We've sort of done that now with Gerald. He's still fairly young and he hasn't played that much first class cricket. He's been around for a few seasons, but he's had injuries, so he hasn't had a long, consistent run in first class cricket, but we've brought him in. He's looked quite good. We did that with Marco Janssen, who also didn't have an extended period of first class cricket, but he's also done well for us. So you can get away with doing that with pace bowlers. We might see that happening with Kwenama Parker somewhere along the line.
Bowlers
Maybe
is a
end of the
little
year,
easier.
maybe next year you might see Kwenama Parker being somewhere along the line, maybe in a T20 squad or something, just to give him some exposure. But with batters, it's different. You need to give them
Mm.
time. They go through ups and downs, and technique wise, they're adjusting all the time. Their position at the crease, the way there's a bunch of technical things that go into it, but so you generally want to see them go over a couple of seasons, how they do in different conditions. You don't just want the guy doing well at Centurion, Supersport Park on a flat wicket, or at Bloemfontein at the flat wicket. We had this discussion with Reynard, but he's started to show that he can do it at other venues as well, like that century he made at Newlands, just to show that they have a bit of adaptability to their batting, and that they've been tested with a short ball. Like somebody like David Brevis, you might not want to throw him in now because he still hasn't quite worked out his technical issues against the short ball.
Mm.
And so that's the type of things you want to see a player out's worked through before you just throw them into the test side, unless they just hit the lights out and they're young and they're exciting, and we need that type of player now
Mm.
in the squad. Like we did that with AB when we had a bunch of experienced players around, right? We had Jock Cullis, we had Graham Smith, we had all of these experienced pros, and we wanted to throw in a young, exciting player. AB was also a backup keeper, so that sort of thing works. It's the same thing with Quentin de Kock. He was young, he was 19 when he made his debut, I think, and he was not too long out of the under 19s. But again, he had that second skill. He was a wicket keeper, and we needed that type of thing at that stage. So it's easier to throw those type of guys or bowlers in than it is for just an out and out batter
Mm.
who's not quite figured his game out yet.
Yeah, spot on. Okay, Werner, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Thanks a lot to the people that have tuned in. I'm looking forward to staying up for this particular game right now. Maybe try and take a nap before the toss. I mean, it's only an hour away about.
Isn't
So,
Bafana playing sometime
yeah,
now?
now, so I'm going to be, actually, that's true. I'm going to be watching that right now. I completely forgot. Thank you for reminding me about that. So, yeah, I'm going to be watching that now going into into the toss. So, guys, just remember to put on your notifications because I'll be going live directly after the day's play when it's still fresh in my mind, and I can speak about everything directly. So, watch me on the way to work or while you're waiting in your register period in school, whatever, if you're allowed to use your phones. So, like, I'm going to be going live directly after the day's play. Werner, thanks a lot for joining me for this preview show. I hope I get to see you again very soon on the shows. Stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll speak to you guys very soon. Peace out, everyone.
Cheers.